Boggs, nice to
Greetings,
see
Mr.
you,
Payne.
man. Nice to see you. Thanks
You
for
too,
doing
good sir.
this. I really appreciate it. Um, so,
Happy.
so I'm excited. I'm trying to do these to like just we're missing this time at the bar, right? We're like, as an industry, we're used to having time, sitting down, hanging out with friends, colleagues, super smart people, and learning things from them. It's some of the times that I enjoyed the most outside of the drinking, which I also enjoyed. Um, you miss this. I miss this. And so I thought, I'm going to give this a shot. Maybe people like it. Maybe it fails. But in the meantime, I get to hang out with some cool people. I get to have an excuse to get
Maybe next time super smart too.
right. That was good. I like it. So anyway, no, you're awesome. So I'll give you a little bit of an intro. I don't do all the weird titles and names and all this stuff. So if you want, drop some names in later. But here's the bottom line: like you've been around for forever. I think you're 2000, like everybody else. Like you're one of the few people I consider like 24 people in the world that has been doing SEO for as long as you have. And you've always been very much into the industry, like Simpo, and just you're like a lead. You're a leader in the space. And so it's nice to see that I'm able to pull you into this interview, which is awesome. And two, just get to know you a little bit more. So one of the things that this kind of revolves around is the drink itself. And you picked a tequila, which this could get crazy fast. And it's Casamigos, I think is what you picked. Why'd you pick it?
Well, actually, I picked Coralejo is slightly more favorite to me than Casamigos, but we both had Casamigos on hand, so
Okay.
it's definitely, I think, right now, sort of the shelf tequila as far as I'm concerned, unless you're in a lot of bars where the best you can get is Patron Silver, hopefully. That's kind of what a lot of people are drinking now, and I like it. And actually, I started liking it and then found out that it's the George Clooney tequila, which I'm like, oh gosh, people are going to think I'm drinking it because of George Clooney, but I'm not. It's actually very tasty, and I
Very
found out
cool.
before.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I have two of them, and I think you have the third one, right? So which one do you have?
I'm in the Reposado.
Okay. So should I try the Añejo or the Blanco first?
It's up to you. Believe it or not, the Blanco has more alcohol than the Añejo. But the Añejo is going to be a more refined taste, obviously.
Well, that answered that question. Okay. I'm going right into the Blanco then for sure.
Got to start with that one.
Right.
You know how I know that? Another old timer, Adam Reimer.
Yeah.
So I was at a retreat last year or 2 years ago now, where a few search marketers went down there, including Tony Wright, who I know you know as well, and John T. Bowles and some others. But we went to a tequila factory or a place where they're making it, and the old dude came out, and that's the first time I learned that the silver has the most, but it makes sense, I guess.
Oh, that's cool. So you'd like a distillery tour and all that stuff?
Yeah, it was right next to the zoo in Puerto, or I always forget where it is. One of those Mexican towns, I hate to say it, but it's one of the tourist towns down there. And they have a great zoo. And now I'm feeling so stupid because I can't think of the name.
Yeah, interestingly, I went to Cabo and I took the company down a few years back. We had a blast, like a week. It started off as a charity thing. It turned into not a charity thing, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway,
you figure if the country that you're in has blessed you with agave and you've learned how to make tequila out of it, you got to be in a pretty good country, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. All right, cheers, man.
Cheers to Mexico and
I'm shooting this, by the way. Yeah, it's good. It's smooth. It is like a Don Julio, or like a Patron Silver, but it is a little smoother. It's a little smoother.
I agree. I think it's a step up from Patron.
Yeah, I like it. So see my weird shot glass I got here?
It's a nice one. That one looks like the type you can get down right at Tijuana, right at the border.
Well, I'm sure. I've never been to Tijuana. I've been to a lot of other towns. Tijuana seems like a lot of trouble for me. So I've avoided Tijuana.
For you, it might be better just to cruise through there down to Rosarito and, hang out with some.
Right. And I even lived in Orange County for a long time. I guess you were born overseas. Where at overseas? Netherlands or something? Where were you born?
Yeah, Belgium. My
Belgium.
mom's Belgian. But,
Okay, and what's the backstory on that?
my dad was at that point he was working with NATO in Belgium, and he had like a Corvette and a Buddha and a stereo, and he wooed my mom. And next thing, you know, I'm born a few years later.
Got it. So you're like on a base or something, or where, or just in?
No, actually, yeah. So the situation, I was born at the University Hospital in Leuven, which is a town in Belgium. But because of my dad's role at the time, it was like I was born on U.S. soil. There are certain diplomatic roles or overseas roles that it's like on U.S. soil. My brother, when he was born in Bordeaux, my dad was a consul general there, and he had to actually make a choice. And I think part of that too was with the French. You know, they're like, oh, if he's born in France, he's going to have the choice when he's 18. But so my brother chose American for few reasons, but one of which so that you didn't have to do the mandatory military service in France. So I didn't have to go through that, luckily. So
can you be president or not? That's the only thing that matters here.
I can, yes.
You can. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. All right. Now, I was checking out your blog, so we're gonna walk through a few things that I found when
my blog. When was that?
No, not your blog. Sorry, your social media. So I did some searches for you, okay? And this could get scary fast. So, you know, I asked you if there's anything you didn't want to talk about. So here's what we got. Here's your beautiful, like, what's this background photo here?
So this, you know, another good friend of ours, Todd Malicote. Yes, that was on his boat on the way out to do some deep sea, outside far enough fishing one day. It was so fun.
Do you and Todd hang out like that? Like you guys just go fishing together and shit?
Yeah, so when I go down to Florida, I have some clients, and I spend some time usually with Brian Prince from Best of the Web fame, and then I usually see Todd and his wife Maritza, other times, so that when I go down there, at least I got people to see too, and I try to make it a 3 or 4 day trip and then sprinkle in some client meetings. Dude,
that's cool. That's very cool. All right, I saw the pyramid. Talk to me about the pyramid. What's this pyramid? You put it on your Twitter, you pinned it to your freaking profile. Like, talk to me. What is this?
It's just something that I worked on together with a couple guys when I was working with Nationwide way back when as part of Brulant and which became Rosetta. So Chris Cotton was a really cool guy at Nationwide who had, fortunately, a little bit of influence within the upper corporate structure because back, in those days, in the mid 2000s to late 2000s, it was a little harder to maybe get SEO heard or anything done. Right. But he helped he wanted to try to visualize all the parts that were going together. And so we sort of started to work on this pyramid, and there's an old version. And so just recently I realized I got to stop pulling up this old version. It still says like, I don't know, Google Plus. No, it was probably even predated Google Plus on there. So there's some funky stuff on there, like getting directory links, for example. Anyway, I decided to do an update. And so this, to me, anyone that knows SEO should be able to take this and explain it, every part in it.
And I like it. What I like about it is it's a very familiar psychology thing. I think I learned it in 6th grade psychology, right? Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, and I'm obsessed with this stupid thing anyway. But what I liked about it is it's updated for stuff. It's great. And I know Moz has one. They've been sitting out there. They on their huge SEO 101 guide. They have one as well. But this does.
It's really also help. A Maslow pyramid.
Yeah, I think they have a Maslow pyramid. Let me look and see. Maybe they stole it from you. I don't know.
You know who else does one? It's in North Carolina. Gosh, I'm so bad with names today. I'll think of it while you're looking that up.
See, there's theirs. It's a thing, apparently.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be more like Oedipus obsessions, but apparently it's like.
So it's similar, definitely. I'm sure that there was plenty of people that were sort of, coming up with this stuff. I like to use the other one that I like to use is the yin and yang for content and or relevance and authority. So what's that? But then you still have to account for the technical.
Yin and yang for content?
No. Yin and yang for SEO.
Okay.
So
Really
like,
interesting, this one.
there's, I don't know if I did one somewhere, but
That's it.
oh, SEO on PPC, fine. I could pull one up of mine that I
Yeah.
use in a deck, but basically I define that you have to start with what do you call it? Sort of indexation, right? And the way that I preface it typically is search engines do two things, right? They crawl and index the internet, so that's one thing, and then they return rankings for searches, and that's an algorithm that determines the other thing. So the crawling indexing part, that's a whole part, and then the ranking part has to do with the yin and yang of relevance and authority, typically, assuming that you're already, you know, uh, taken care of from a technical perspective.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. I liked it. I thought it was worth, mentioning for sure. And then you were recently on PubCon as well. So I think you and I connected for the first time in a long time on PubCon. So what did you talk about at PubCon generally?
Well, I've talked about a few things recently, but it's really mostly been focused around paid search. For like, if we look back for a while at PubCon, I was talking about agencies and building an agency team and stuff like that in like the 2016, 2017, 2018 range. And then more recently, since 2019, I focused on paid search, extended text ads and testing responsive search ads and extended text ads and sort of the difference between what I called them and shorties. And then I focused on some content marketing case studies also in 2019. And most recently, it was about keeping ad spend. So basically, working with negative keywords, negative keyword lists, exclusions in display, all the ways that people have found to manipulate the system within Google and make money, and how you try for your client to I call it shrinkage almost, right? To limit the shrinkage through means such as narrowing audiences and adding exclusions, et cetera. So that was the most recent deck that I think it was pretty good at. Right now we're in a time where you got to do that, and it's I think a lot of people are relying too much on automation and stuff like that. So there's a whole layer, I think, of paid search that still exists where people are trying to do it manually, and that's kind of what my content focus is around. In fact, I published something at Search Engine Land, first time I've written in forever,
Right.
that literally kind of pokes at every single one of the auto applied Google recommendations. I do say, yeah, you could use like 3 out of 35 is kind of what I bless. But the rest I do say, beware, right? It's a ninja sword. It can cut your own hand too, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be like a poo-poo on Google thing here, but like it seems like they definitely feed on the really small businesses that don't know anything at all of what they're doing. They spend $500 or $100, and there's like millions of them, and really just kind of screw up the market a lot for the ones that are trying to truly look at ROI all the way through that whole process. I didn't know that you were headed into PPC. I thought you were more of a.
Oh, I've been doing it a while, actually.
Yeah. I thought you were more of
I
an
was always known as an SEO for the 10 years I was writing, until 10 years ago, literally.
Yeah.
The other thing
that's what
there
I
too
didn't
is
know about you,
I
so
want to
that's
say
pretty
real
cool.
quick, Brent, that I don't think that it's malicious.
Okay.
I think the problem is too much trust in the AI. And also, it's basically like Google's got to make money. And if someone's spending 500 a month, let the AI handle it, kind of an attitude, right? And now they've got more of these humans that are, and in fact, I used to not talk to them, and I was like, God, stop calling my clients. And no, I don't want to talk to you. But now I am talking to them, and I found that a lot of them actually enjoy their conversations with me because, like, I know more than the people they usually talk to.
Right.
And like, for example, one here, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
the column in performance that says you're going to get limited exposure because it's a low quality score.
Right.
How often do you see that by a keyword and then you look over and you see 12% click-through rate, top of page rate is 93.7%, and absolute top of page is 81% or something, and you're like, wait a minute, how is it bad? And you're going to show it limited, but all these other columns of metrics tells me it's good, right? And I think that that's kind of, because I have to have those conversations with clients, because I show them inside the the dashboard and stuff. I'm very open about what's going on. I like to show search query stuff because it shows that we're doing our work, blocking bad stuff, but that we're fighting a battle.
Yeah.
But people get scared by that, and in fact the other columns are telling them, and then the last thing I'll say is that some other agency will come in and say, oh look, you got all these bad scores, and oh look at the optimization score, it's bad. Ooh, bad.
That's
like, come on, man.
It's a great transition. And I won't mention clients, but recent client had some core algorithm update issues. I've been trying to work through it, and I've fixed it for about 75%. I'm not going to claim I've fixed every single one. I haven't. And this client is one of two clients that I have not fixed the core algorithm update problem for. And so I was like, I've tried everything. I've looked at technical, I've looked at content, I've looked at voice, I've looked at eat, I've looked at blah, 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 blah. And so they hired another firm to go look at stuff. And now I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh shit. Like, these guys are hiring another firm. It's the end of this contract. It's a fairly easy client other than the past, 6 months or so. Like, damn. But they came back with an audit. It was literally like a site bulb export type of scenario, or an Ahrefs. I don't know. Maybe they integrated a few things, but I was just like, like, it's a site with 500,000 URLs on it, and the errors that show up are like 60 URLs show this, and they had it as high priority. I'm like, guys, on 500,000 like pages of the website, you're going to worry about 60, and they weren't even like home pages. They're like buried pages, or, oh, you have 700 orphan pages. Who gives a shit? It's a 500,000 URL site. And it just, I get it. Yes. Orphan pages, bad. Got it. But not if it's 700 on 500,000 URLs.
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of talking about the same stuff, where it's like, technically it's a problem, but when you look at it with more of a like experienced lens, you start to realize that these aren't real problems, right? These are just flags. They're flags. Look at them. But
and to some people, they look like, holy shit, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've seen, is that they've done a good job, I think, in Search Console of starting to bring down the FUD, right? From your perspective, from what you were talking about. Like, for example, the excluded not founds now, they're just listed over and excluded. They're just not found. It's not like, oh, warning, 404 is not found, blah, 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 blah. And so that's still, to me, then, if I'm looking at one client, which I am right now, that has 0 errors, 1 valid with warnings, and 416 valid, it's a mid-sized client, and 1.28K excluded. Now I'm going to go look over at excluded. There's no warnings, but why are these 404s here? And let's start working on them. Yeah. And I'm not like, oh my God, 404s, right. You could argue that Google kind of told us to do that a couple of years ago, and by making it so prominent within the Search Console and all these warnings.
Or if triggers an email, the email goes out to everyone that's inside of Google Search Console. Now all of a sudden everyone's freaking out. Like, what are these errors? It's like, yes, you have 7 broken links on your site of 500,000 URLs. I'm sorry. It is an issue, but do you really want to go spend the money to go fix it? Do you even want to spend the money for your IT guy for 3 hours to go find what these things are? I don't think so. Here's some code snippets. Maybe it's here. If it's not, don't worry about it. You're good to go. So, and I guess that's where I get frustrated sometimes. It's just like, they still, I don't know. You love Google more than me. I think you'd love Google. I'm getting irritated. I'm getting frustrated with Google because I feel like there's just a lot of games going on that they just aren't. And it's terrible for me. Like, I should not be saying stuff like this about Google, but I feel like they never lie. They're not going to lie because I think there's too much of a legal risk. Okay, too much money, like too much, like being sued, etc. But I feel they play the gray area a little
And
too
are you
much.
talking about both SEO and paid search there, or more
No,
with
I'm
the
not talking
SEO
about
hat?
SEO. Although on the paid search side, first of all, I don't do paid search at all. The last time I was in a paid search account was probably 8 years ago. So when I do paid search on the Loud website, you're using one of the consortium members that I have. I set up like 109 people that I work closely with. We got signed contracts and shit. It's fun. And they fill in for stuff that I don't do well. So I got, some ORM, not ORM. I've got some CRO people. I've got some PPC people, right? And it works out really well. I take 20% of it. That's it. They keep the rest and they manage it. And the
And you
ones
trust them, and it's kind of like you don't have to do the no follow on them almost, right? Like if you're going to hand them off to someone you're working with and are going to continue to work with, you want to make sure to trust them because
correct.
you're going to hear it
And a
otherwise.
few of them haven't worked out, like, especially starting off. And part of it was on me. It wasn't operationally perfect. So I went through a couple that were like a little messy, but I've been doing this for like a year and a half now, or a year, almost exactly a year. And it works very, very well. Like Boggs, I had a company of 17 people. We were doing $6.3 million a year. Like, yeah, in fact, yeah, I will cheers to that. That was fun. But things change, and whoa, that's a kicker. That añejo, yeah, that añejo, that's some stuff, man. All right, woo. Anyway, so back to the company. Like, we had a lot more employees. We were doing about we were doing a lot through Groupon. Everyone knows this. I talk about it all the time, right? It was like a $500,000 a month account. I think it's the largest SEO account ever in the history of SEO. I don't know what Zappos got
Except
to.
for like the first 10 that Bruce Clay had in about 2002 or something.
Or were those higher? Like, I don't know. Well, there's bigger numbers. I don't know. But and a lot of that was stuff that I'm not going to talk about just in case this becomes a legal issue for me.
Of course, yeah.
Right. But a lot of it was deliverables. I'll leave it at that. And it was great. We did it for it was a 6-month contract that we ran for 4 years. Right. And that's pretty exciting. It changed because, in the last 6 months to a year, the last year, we were falling to number 2, literally just number 2. Right. And I only promised them number 3 at the first contract. And we made it clear to number 1. And man, when you fall from 1 to 2,
the bar rises, dude. The bar rises.
Oh, yeah. And it's the new management team, right? The new management team came in. I survived 3, changes of the guard. And the third team came in and they're like, these are my goals. I got to hit this, blah, blah. I'm like, yep. Okay, cool. You guys kind of deserve number 2, just to let you know, Retail Me Nuts, like definitely the leader in the space. They have the link structure. Like, we have managed to game this for a while. Like, 2's legit. Let's focus on 2. Yeah. Like, nope, my goals are set for number 1. Okay. And so what do? They try other agencies, of course. Why wouldn't they? It makes sense. And I was a little too cocky, a lot cocky probably. Okay. And I didn't take the RFP seriously because I'd done 2 others before. Of course, we're going to get picked. We're Loud Interactive.
Yeah, 4 years of 6-month, keep going.
Yes, yeah. Right. And so I didn't take that one seriously. And I got my ass handed to me, Boggs, handed to me. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll get it next quarter. Right. And so I'm burning cash like crazy. Right. I had a bunch of money saved up for the company, burning cash. I'm toasting some employees that I definitely don't need, like the, personal chef that we had making us all lunch every day. Literally, that was his job. Personal chef and like workout guy. So you'd go downstairs, you'd sweat, you come upstairs, you eat a fish. Right. It was
if you
awesome.
want to, retain talent in the agency world, you have these kind of nuances sometimes.
Right. And so, he wasn't super expensive, but we had things like that. And then finally, when I realized that I wasn't going to get the $500K a month back, and it took a while. It took me 6 months, maybe 9 months to realize that. That's when I cut hard. And I realized that I want to have freelancers forever. Like, and it sounds mean and cold and heartless, but the freelancers, you're paying for exactly what you get delivered. And the employees, they're loyal to you. You're loyal to them. But the amount of pain that you go through when you have to fire someone, even if it's their fault, it sucks, Boggs. I don't know how much you've had to do it, but firing people was the worst part of my job. And then firing people because I fucked up, that was way worse. Way worse. Right now, I'm letting people go, ruining lives because I made mistakes. And I'm just scared to death.
That's the big risk there, yeah.
Dude,
And you know, you have a conscience and you were raised in the right way to actually care about that, right? And imagine all the people that do so well, not necessarily in our industry, but across industries, because they're fucking ruthless, right?
yeah.
And that's a big difference in business, I think, is how ruthless can you be? I'm loyal to a fault, and I will stick to a client, and I'll not raise, you know, if I have to do in some enterprise situations where I might have to do literally every quarter or whatever, especially these days, you know, and I don't raise the rates, and I even try to find ways to lower hours and stuff. It's probably stupid of me, right? And somebody else would say, what a dumbass. He's got, you know, this great client and he's proven and blah, blah. And it takes them a while to change gears. So, you know, milk it for what you can, blah, blah. All these kind of concepts of working in the enterprise space that I think people take for granted, right? And people do take it for granted. And people on both sides start to expect an agency relationship and an agency layer structure with layers of fat, right? And that's what you're talking about is kind of what so you're talking about the layer internally in the agency, but it's also, I think, a big selling point for consultancies or thin agencies versus the big enterprise agencies is that literally you count the hours, right? How many hours are spent on people who set up meetings and that sit in 8-person meetings and then when God forbid that some senior guy walks in and charges $1,200 to the client because he sat into a meeting, you know, those are the kinds of, I think, structures that are. You talk about freelancing. I spoke in Brazil 10 years ago, and somebody there told me, "Oh, everyone in Brazil, they freelance, man, they freelance." And that was just expectation there is that you don't maybe take as much money in an agency, but you're always freelancing and doing other work for other
Right.
people.
No, I have 400 freelance writers now. That's outrageous,
awesome.
right? Most of that's from my Tribune network. You know, as you know, Tribune's SEO director for 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And so it
Did
was
you
easy.
work with Carolyn there
Caroline
or
came after me.
across?
Yeah,
She
Caroline
was
came
after
after me.
you.
That
Okay.
was the first role hired.
Caroline. Cool.
And then I left mainly because I was greedy. Like I wanted to make more than the 160 that they were paying you, 160 plus 40, which was fine for an in-house gig. But I wanted to
We
make
were lucky in the early age, you know, to get names and
right.
command that kind of salary early. I mean, I think that's.
And I also was able to tell them, like, look, I also get to freelance on the side. So I made, you know, about 80K on the side while I was doing that. And I was like, you
But
know
that's
what?
not 500K a month from.
No, it wasn't group one levels, no. But I had a lot to spend on that too. You know what I mean? But so anyway, bottom line is like, yeah, you know,
You
where
shifted
we
to
at?
freelance model,
Oh yeah, freelance.
and now.
So I got 400 freelancers. I love it. They're awesome. I got 109 digital marketers I use mainly for PPC, some CRO stuff, just areas that I'm not, and to bounce ideas.
Public relations at all? Citations or?
So PR is a weird spot for me. You know, I'll be honest, I abuse my freelance writers a bit because they all write somewhere else. I'm just going to kind of leave it there that there's some
Yeah, I see what you mean.
right? There's some opportunities there. And but the other side of it that I'm realizing is that a lot of these writers that write for a lot of major organizations also write really good PR pitches. And so if you have a decent article or story that you can come up with, I was missing the PR pitch side. So I found 12. It's probably closer to 10, 12, 10, 12, whatever. PR writers that can pitch PR, like, you know, do PR pitches for me. And I scraped the living crap out of the internet because I'm really good at doing that. Something that we did for a lot of different clients over the years. And so I scraped out all of the submit a story ideas for all of the local TV stations, local radio stations. I haven't done newspapers yet, but kind of like that easy to get stuff published sites. So I've got about 1,400 of these suckers that I have broken down into different emails. I put them all in Google groups, okay? Because it's still an easy way to spam, or not spam, of course, not technically spam like canned spam, but like spam isn't what people think. And
as long as it's relevant information, right?
And it is, because they ask for story pitches. So I'm doing it.
Excuse me.
And if anyone says they want out, they get out, right? So, but the point is, I'm able to now, with the PR pitch on top of a decent story, can throw out to these 1,500-ish email addresses, depending on which section I want, decent PR pitches. We always get one pickup, which is great. Sometimes we get like 5, but we don't ever get 50, right? So I'm still missing something here.
Do you use Harrow on the flip side and try to keep an eye on Harrow? Or is that too
Harrow is such
so noisy
here, man. It's just so much work to do, help a reporter out, and it works, but you gotta assign someone that's low cost to constantly be pinging that, and then they need to act as if they are God themselves when they're responding to these things. So
you said you have writers, as freelance, but do you have people like that too that do that kind of work, like Mechanical Turks kind of work almost?
No, I'm a little burned out. Like, me, like 2009, 2010, I pissed off Matt Cutts over this whole drop down menu, Google Suggest thing. I was having fun, dude. Like, I was thrilled in my life. I was thrilled in my career.
You and Avi.
Dude, I was having a great time, And so I figured out how to do the Google Suggest thing. It was cake, right? And I talked about it at SMX Advanced in San Diego or something. And man, that just changed that whole industry. I wasted so much money in one 12-minute speech at SMX Advanced. And I had some big names in the industry. I won't throw them under the bus, but I had some big names in the industry come back to me and be like, you are a moron, because you just gave away so much in what you just said. And I've learned a bit about that, but you know what? I've gone too far now, Boggs. Like, now, you know how long it's been since I've done stuff like this? Like, trying to even do any branding at all?
Probably since you had hair. Oh, no, wait.
Pretty damn close. Yeah. But it's been a while, And so now I've got to do something, but I swung completely the other way to not publishing anything after that. So Google won. God damn it. They won. They won because they changed their algorithm, and they won because they muted me, partially because of some of the advice I got from some of my peers. But that happened. But that's what I did. So anyway,
I think you could argue that Google has needed people like us too, right? I mean, it's been a symbiotic relationship of sorts.
Right?
We've pushed and they've closed doors and cat and mouse, whatever you want to call it. I've always, even like maybe 6 years ago or something, maybe 5 years ago, I went down to NYU. I was invited to speak to a blogging class about stuff. And why did I bring this up? What were we just saying?
That we were all running into that Google needed us too.
Right. So that's exactly what I was explaining to them, right? Is that, it's always been a symbiotic relationship. And if you do the right thing, and SEOs are sort of on the job in a particular, category, you tend to have better results, right? And granted, as we all know, the other PPC, pills, porn, and casino, there's a different set of rules there and a different outcome and a different sort of relationship. But I would argue that in jewelry, finance, whatever, SEOs have helped to clean up the SERPs and make better results. If it wasn't, for the SEOs that are either white hat champions or mostly white hat and have the budget and so forth that are leading the right companies, Google's results would be totally effed, right? Because plenty of people are trying to cheat and plenty of people that think that they
And so they
belong
needed the
that
real
don't.
brands to do the basic things so that they could also rank, right?
Right.
Instead of the non-brands that know how to game the system, we needed to let SEO become mainstream enough that the HPs of the world or whatever, like Teslas of the world, right, were able to rank for electric car and not some shitty
Yeah.
other company, right?
I'll give you a good example. It was I'm not going to say the brand or the exact keyword, but I did some work kind of in an emergency situation right before the holidays a couple of years ago for an agency that covered a really big brand that had multiple brands underneath it that was present in malls all over the place, right? And also had a good online presence. So the idea was, let's find this category stores and let's do better. And so it was very simple, a classic simple SEO trick. And I'll tell you another one that predecessed this by 10 years in a minute, was to make it the homepage's title, such and such store online and local, right? And if you can back it up and Google sees all those locations everywhere, and you have like a kick-ass e-commerce.
This sounds really black hat. So you took a different company's name?
No. I took it. I took its brand site and I changed the headline of the main page, the home page, to such and such store, local and online, right? And different variety than that. I'm not going to give it away exactly, but it right away almost right before the holidays, jumped up that needed 3 or 4 spots to get into the top 3 or higher, and has maintained it to now. This is like through since for both local and category store, right?
That's
and
amazing.
So because this is a great example where a big brand, and they have a kick-ass e-com system that's, to me, like e-commerce in this category 10 years ago was about content and pre-panned type stuff. And then now it's about how badass is your e-com system. And if someone's looking for a specific piece of product, will they find it within like the category? Then if so, that category page is going to rank for everything you need to at the head, right? And so you take that and combine it with the fact that they have a presence everywhere. And it's kind of a cinch, right?
So you get the local map.
All the signals are there, right? And all the local signals are there.
Yes.
And the e-com effectiveness of the site is there. That's to me where you get lucky sometimes in our position, and get to work with a big brand and just make the right little tweak. And the other one I was going to tell you, I can say the name, was years ago when I was working with Avenue A Razorfish then.
Okay.
We worked with Hawaiian Airlines, and they wanted to rank for Hawaiian vacations, and they ranked for all these Hawaiian flights terms or whatever. So I said, "Oh yeah, why don't you put vacations in the title?" And boom, done. Because they were so high up for Hawaiian already that all they had to do was just put vacation in the title, right? And vacations or whatever. That's an example of, I think, something that's been true since you and I started working on big brands 15 more plus years ago, is that if you do the basics right and you can prove it through your entity, then you're going to get the ranking. And that's kind of how it should be in a way, right? And I'm sorry for the smaller folks that sell Hawaiian vacations, but Hawaiian Airlines deserves one of those spots, I think. When
I met my wife, there was one thing that she asked. She's like, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Literally nothing." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're a teacher. Like, you literally make an impact to the world every day. Like, you teach kids, you help them grow. Like I can name off 5 teachers that made an actual impact to my life, and it changed me. I move one website from position 2 to position 1. Position 1 goes to position 2. The people that were at position 2 that moved to position 1, they love me. They give me money for it. They throw parties. They're happy. But whoever was at position 1 that moved to position 2, they're crying. They're firing people. Like, the net impact of what I do every day is nothing, right? And that kind of pushed me to try some stuff to get out of the industry a few years ago, right? Because I wanted to actually make an impact on the world. And at the end of the day, Boggs, I get paid a lot of money, or well, I used to get paid a lot of money, right? To do nothing, to do nothing. And so to your point there is like Hawaiian Airlines deserved that vacation spot. Sure, they did. Okay. But someone else paid the price for it. Right. And does it ever bother you that what we're doing is like a net zero impact to the world?
I always like the term spam sites positioned above mine. And, you know, I'm not ruthless, but as far as search results are concerned, you know, like basically if you can rank for the term just as much as I can, but I'm working for, you know, site A, then I don't give a shit about site B, right? You know, that's just the way it is. And that's part of like, I'm a really nice guy or whatever, but when it comes to business or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, that's what we do, right? I mean, that's economics. You know, that's what we're living in, is trying to do better than the rest. And frankly, you could argue then, you know, altruistically, that by doing better, if they, instead of just they're going to do better too, right? And then everyone's going to do better, and everyone's going to have a better online experience.
And to use Google's mantra that they always like to use, right? We're improving the web for everyone because we wrote better content.
They don't use the "don't be evil" anymore,
right? Which made them be better, which made us be better, which made them be better. Which, you know, and glorious Hawaiian vacation content now exists that wouldn't have ever existed without all the competition. So,
but if you think about it, when I was doing that, there was less people hurt. Because I would argue that 10 years ago, there was less conversions. People would look for it. People were looking for it online, but it's like when my first job online in 2000, when I came out of the Marines and I knew how to fire artillery, I was lucky. My buddy who owned an insurance agency in California in San Diego said, hey, let's sell insurance online. No one does it. We got San Diego healthinsurance.com, which sucks now. I went to check it like a year ago or something. CaliforniaHealthInsurance.org. You know, and we started creating these online tables for rates and stuff like that. And but if you get ahead of ahead of the space, you can get into something and do pretty well. I forgot why I bought it up though, unfortunately.
Oh, you're saying that it made more of an impact now, like more people are hurt now than they were back then.
Right. So 10 years ago, less people, to that point, thank you, were willing to probably buy a Hawaiian vacation online. They were still going to go over to the mall or wherever their travel agent was, right? But it's a good point. And nowadays, where are they? Where are the mall travel agents, right? They're all gone already. So at that point, then I don't care. It's just another online business that's trying to fight for a living, just like my clients or me, right? If I'm in-house.
Well, and one thing that Marina pointed out, my wife pointed out back then was like, yeah, but you know what? You are making a better life for the people in your bubble. Like, and you know what? That's got to mean something to you. And I was like, you know what? My dad actually made a big point about this growing up. Like, just do better than me. And that's something that's really stuck with me over the years, is like, just do better than me. Now, my dad, cheers, man.
My dad passed a long time ago. I was at University of Georgia when that happened.
What was?
When my dad passed away. He was over in Italy, so it was kind of like another instance.
Yeah, and I'm lucky enough my parents were really young. My mom was 18 when she had me. My dad was 20. And but my dad's always been like, just do better than me. And at first I was like, okay, just make more money than dad, because that's what I thought, and that's the way I'm wired. I'm very much I'm focused on money. I've been that way since I was 12, you know, or maybe younger. And then, but it turns into a lot more than that when you get older, right? It's like, just be a better father.
Well, I've seen the pictures. Yeah, you've got
you know
a wonderful family of new family of.
It becomes a big deal, man. Like, you know, and so I feel a little better knowing that I'm just trying to do better than, you know, and create a better life for depending on what the situation is. But so
But
what's
the
your
other
personal
side
life?
is too,
I don't know a lot of
is
your personal life. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say is like, at our point in our career, we can make the choice too, right? And that's good too. And I, will be willing to part ways with a client, if it just doesn't feel right, and I'm having any headaches about it, and that's one of the reasons that I formed my own business 6 years ago, is that, I mean, I was very lucky, working with Jim over at the Ninjas, that I could still, my son has been a prodigy golfer for a long time. So if I wanted to go caddy for him or whatever, I could. And that's one of the big, the idea of a lifestyle business has always been core to my heart.
Yeah.
I like making money, and I'd like to make more money, as would everyone. But not in when I would have to sacrifice, control over who I work with, and really, the ability to set my calendar, as you know.
And I think that's where I'm at right now. That's really weird, right? That it was going from an awesome place to an okay place. And honestly, the last year has been great. Like finally climbing. Like I bottomed out at the beginning of end of 2019, and then everything's been climbing since, and that's awesome. And this year is phenomenal so far. I'm not going to talk about it because I got so many people I owe money to and stuff. I'm just not even going to put it on record, but things are going well this year, and I
Nice.
hope, knock on wood, it continues, right? But
Yeah.
it's like that balance. Like when the kids come into your office and they're like, "Dad, you've been up here all day. Like you haven't entered, you haven't left the house, you haven't left the office all day. Like I miss you." And like that crushes your soul, man. Like that.
Wait till they're teenagers; they'll hate you, and then all they do is steal your internet, and you get pissed at them
Right,
instead.
but and so you look at that and you're like, man, like, am I a good person? Like, there's a lot of things going through my head right now, and maybe it's COVID, maybe it's where I'm at with the ages of the kids I have, maybe it's where I'm at with the company. But dude, like, there's a lot of shit ticking around in my head right now of like work-life balance scenarios, who I want the for clients, where I want to take Loud, right? Like what types of areas do I want to go into? When you fall, when you fail, failing sucks, right? And it crushes the soul of who you are for a period of time. And for someone like me that was super freaking cocky, okay, and to like have all that go away, and I never failed. I failed 4 or 5 times, few income things, right? Like moved where I went down. Not like this, man. Not like that, right? That was painful. And then it just like eats at your
But
soul.
you failed because that was your new plateau at that point, right?
Yes.
Like if you'd say like 4 years ago that you'd have a 500 grand a month client for 4 years on 6-month contracts, you'd be like, hell yeah, that's going to be amazing success. So
Right.
everything's got to end eventually, right? In a
And
way.
it does, and it does. And so anyway, so now it's that work-life balance, and I've got an amazing family, an amazing wife, and I've tried to prioritize that even through the regrowth of Loud, and rebuilding what Loud is today. I've gone through the divorce before, right? That sucks. I don't know if you have or not, but like that stuff sucks. So what's your personal life? Tell me, like your kid's apparently a golfer, okay? Like give me the details. Like what's going on in Boggs's personal life?
So I've been working at home for 6 years. As I just mentioned, part of it is to help sort of have my own schedule. Um, my son's in 10th grade. He has been playing varsity golf since 7th grade. He's
Wow.
also like a really good student, National Honor Society, which you pay for, as we all know. But still, it's like he passed the test and all that, and he does all honors classes. And he's going to a really good private school, a boys' school. He made that decision way back in 6th grade to, sort of want to challenge himself. He's, I would say, more like my wife's brain in a way, in that he's a mathematics. My wife is a math major, and he's sort of very regimented about things, right? And my daughter, on the other hand, is kind of more like me, a little more creative minded, and is also at a private school here in Albany that she started going to last year this year, because we wanted to have a better online experience after the local schools just shat the bed last year with COVID.
Yep.
And it's also the sister school of her brother, so there's a little there too.
Rivalry going on. Yeah.
So that's been going really well. She's gotten some good friends there. She's like a phenom athlete. She's qualified for the national junior American Ninja Warrior thing, like a few years. Yeah, she's like a super ninja basically. And right now she's qualified for the ninja stuff, the regionals. She's going to be in a competition tomorrow that's like a different ninja league, where it's like easier because they actually get to fail an obstacle up to 3. But the other ninja thing that she's in is hardcore. Like once you fail the obstacle, you're out. Right. Like American Ninja Warrior, on TV. I don't know if you've ever watched it.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Like whenever I'm on a business trip, that is the only thing I watch in a hotel room.
Nice, awesome.
American Ninja Warrior.
And I've seen her a couple different big competitions where like she was gonna miss an obstacle, but if it wasn't for her just sheer determination of hanging on and fighting and getting to the end of the obstacle, she wouldn't have done it. And it's just as prideful as a father as watching your son win like the New York Junior PGA, which he did, when he was 12. But stuff like that is obviously really rewarding as a parent. And my wife has been able to support a lot of that as well. Obviously, she's doing a little part-time work we live on a golf course, so she's been sort of helping the new owner, who's the superintendent, that's realizing a lifelong dream of buying his golf course. And it's an amazing course, so if you come here hopefully and visit us, it's McGregor Links. I'm pointing to the wrong side here. So she's like assistant GM there and stuff, so everything's going pretty well here. It's about a 30-minute to 40-minute commute to the kids' school. We moved here because of the local schools, and then suddenly we're in like private schools seemingly an hour away. So that's where I'm at. I play soccer on Sundays. I've got a group of about 15 people that we play indoors with. We can rent a local community gym, and it's really not too expensive. We play like $10 each, and we play an hour and a half. Non-contact indoor soccer so it's something to do right now, which is great.
How do you play non-contact soccer? How does that work?
Well, yeah, it's like I find myself a little too close to people sometimes. I'm like, oops.
Got it.
Hopefully that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, this is what I wanted. Like I want to take the time to get to know some people through these things.
What about you, other than the obviously beautiful, relatively new baby? Tell me about that and everything.
Yeah. So, I got married almost 10 years ago now. We just had our 10-year meet-iversary. We also joked that it's the sex-iversary, but
I've got a bigger glass.
Cheers. Yeah. I don't know.
Nice. That's a good joke to have. So you had your 10-year meet-iversary.
Meet-iversary, not sex-iversary, of course. Yes. My wife wouldn't be that way.
You can edit that part out.
Yeah. I'll just let it go. I've talked about it before. We met, and guess who had introduced us? My wife and I were introduced by Dave Rohr.
Oh, that's right. I saw something about that just recently on Facebook.
Yes, isn't that crazy? So Dave introduced us, and then
that's when you and Dave were both in the porn industry, right? No,
yeah, of course, yeah. Like whatever. It's like, shh, don't talk about it.
You can edit that out too.
No, please. I've never done poker or pills. I've done the casino stuff, and I actually flew to Poker Stars out in the Isle of Man a number of years ago. That was the weirdest experience because you land.
You were like, I'm here for the Isle of Man, and it's poker. No, I'm just kidding.
No, dude, and there's nothing there. It's just water. Like it's literally just like it's cold. It's kind of you feel like a vegetable at Safeway or at Mariano's or Safeway or whatever, Kroger, whatever you are. It's just kind of misting a little bit. it's creepy because everything is just kind of dead silent, and you're told do not say that you're there for Poker Stars. I don't know why. They were just very like hush hush about it. And so I spent 2 weeks there on the island for like a content management system SEO thing. And it was awesome. And so I know some of the people from there still. And I've done a few. I've done a few.
When was that?
Oh, fuck. 2011, 2012, maybe. So I followed a few of those people through their careers. And I'm working with VSIN right now. So the Vegas Sports Information Network, kind of a startup, but they have a bunch of like
Vegas Sin.
Yeah, isn't that great? VSIN, isn't that great? But anyway, they're doing sports betting stuff, which is kind of cool. Helping them out with a couple of projects I'm not going to need details on. And then
the sports betting places and the daily fantasy is growing. Like I watch. I'm a Washington Capitals hockey fan. You might see a couple things behind me, but
I wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah. So on the satellite, and so I see the local channels, and in like Virginia, you can do all this betting and everything. It's like it gets me.
Well, in some of the states, so I started off by following one of the Poker Stars guys. He created I'm gonna kind of oversimplify it, but it's kind of like an affiliate program for poker. And I started working with him for about 2 years on a number of things, and that was interesting. And then that kind of played into VSIN, although VSIN was also a connection from Tribune. It's amazing how all this stuff works together, right? Like, people and I always say this, like, I build relationships with people, not with companies, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my latest client is she left as CMO somewhere else, and now she's CMO, and she called me up. It's awesome.
Right. They move around, and that's what happens. But I've done a little bit of that poker stuff. But my point is that I haven't done a lot of porn poker, or I've done any porn type of SEO, and I haven't done any poker. I've done some poker SEO, and I haven't done any pills SEO. I don't know if I would be against doing those. Maybe I would in some areas, but I don't know.
It's fun doing the legal pill stuff.
And the pill side,
like if you work for pharmas.
No, I have a client. I have a client right now actually that's mushrooms. So the whole shrooms thing, the psychedelics.
I work with a few CBD and medicinal.
And I've almost closed the deal with a few marijuana clients, but. In fact, they even took 30 of this.
You hear that our friend Darren Babin has purchased an interest in a production facility in Arizona, I think.
No, and I remember Darren talking to me about that, 5-7 years ago, man?
Well, I spoke at his cannabis conference in Miami 2 years ago, which was awesome, by the way.
Oh, and I just love the Babins. Like, the greatest loving hearts that are out there.
And Brandy, obviously, you got to mention.
Oh, Brandy, like Marina loves Brandy.
You gotta mention
like my wife Marina's met Brandy one time, and she still talks about her all the time. You're like, oh, Brandy this, Brandy that. And when we like, not to get too modeling here, but like when Jordan died, right? I had a long conversation with Brandy. And I wasn't super close to Jordan. I wouldn't say we were like friends, but
a nice guy.
It hit me, and so Brandy seems to be that type of person in the industry. She's like the mom of the industry. Jillian used to be the mom, like Rand's mom.
She's the like I want to be the mom face mom.
Yes,
if I may say, without
Yeah, it's true. Like she doesn't try to be the mom, but she kind of is the mom of the industry, and so. She and I had a nice long talk, which is very personal. I'm not going to get into, but it was nice to have people like the Babins that allow us.
Tag them in this in your podcast.
Yeah,
they know we love them.
They're just great people. And I've seen a huge transition with them too, right? They've grown up and they've changed industries and they've done things. Their parties.
It's been cool. The 20% you were talking about, like following everyone's life. Most of us have stayed in. There's been a few that I knew through Sempo, like, for example, Sarah Hollebeck. She totally shot off to some completely different thing. I mean, she was married to like an opera guy anyway or whatever. And it was, but there's some people like that were like amazing, like stars in the industry, and that there's fell off. But others stayed. Some remained very limelighty or growing limelight, like a Rand. Rand and I were on the same stage in 2004. He had the yellow shoes, I didn't. And
Right.
also, he had a different and amazing entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah.
And he went, to a direction.
And Rand and I have never.
Very few of us.
Yeah, but Rand and I have never clicked. Like Jillian, his mom, she and I clicked. Like, and that's not in some weird way either. Like, we literally clicked.
I hung out with her at a couple parties at SES or something.
She went to my wedding, man. Like, she came to my wedding. She flew in for my wedding. Like, she didn't even like just show up. Like, she actually flew in to go to my wedding. And that meant a lot to me. And then I hung out with her a lot in Australia. I don't know why Australia, but I did. It was just the way conferences worked out. And so as I
but
see
it's a great example of how, like, we all took different paths, and some of us, Rand, I think, took an amazing sort of above the
dude. I'm so happy for him.
Line, and then others that are very polarizing, like Neil Patel, right?
Yeah.
Like that's someone that, like, a lot of people really hate.
I can't stand the guy. I will say it on record because I've met him twice, and he was a total dick to me both times. And first time I met him, like, hi, I'm Brent Payne, and whatever. I had like a few friends around me, and he's like, hi, I'm Neil. I'm like, Neil. He's like, Neil Patel. I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've never heard of you. He's like, you haven't heard of me, really? I'm like, no.
I had the same experience with what's her name, Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle. I was at a client event.
Yeah.
He was a speaker, and I was like, where do I seem to recognize her? And she was literally at my table.
Yeah.
Her assistant was the most amazing looking person I've ever met.
Right.
But I was like, oh, Kimberly, what's your last name? And she goes, like, you don't know, or whatever. And it turned out it was Kimberly Guilfoyle, and I was sitting next to her at an event. It was awesome. But anyway, that's
so to go back to Neil, like, I respect.
Like, who are you?
no, but I respect what Neil has done. Like, he has done a great job.
Yeah, Kimberly Guilfoyle actually is more famous than Neil, to be honest.
He's making a fortune. He ranks for a bunch of stuff. He's putting out great content.
Yeah.
Okay. You
can't hate the player. You got to hate the game, right?
Yeah, he's been doing the SEO 101 stuff well, right?
But I just say he's a good example of an opposite of Rand, right?
But you know what? I can't recommend him. In fact, I non-recommend him, which probably gives him more business, right? I don't recommend him. I purposely say.
Have you used Crazy Egg at all, like that tool, or?
I do like Crazy Egg, and that's. I
haven't used it, so
I like it. It's good. It has some good stuff in it. But it's the attitude that comes with it. And maybe I used to be that way too.
It's like Yoast has attitude too, but
you know what though? I love Yoast of all. Love him. I know he's got a lot.
If you dare complain online about anything though, the Yoast is coming down on you.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that. But even today, I was bitching about the way in which he does his sitemaps. Okay.
That's the exact moment. Literally 7 years ago. Like, what the fuck is this sitemap array, bro? Come on, man.
I sent him. I was with a client. It was the mushroom client, actually, oddly, and I have his email address. I emailed Yoast, and I was like, Yoast, what the f? And I think I put that in the email. Like, what the f with your sitemaps? Like, they're exactly the opposite of what I would like you to do with them. And he's like, and he didn't respond yet. And the client's like, wait, you're just.
But if he responds, listen, Yoast, if you're listening, man, you gotta chill out a little on, like, especially some of us that have been around a while. Like, if we say something, maybe you should listen for a second.
So he emailed me back, which is super
good.
Cool. But the client, before this, right? And this is all literally today. I'm writing the email. The client can see my screen because I'm screen sharing, doing other work. And I write the email and I close it with kisses and hugs because I do that with my friends. Some people get offended, whatever. But I close it with kisses and hugs. And the client's like, I like, do you know him? I'm like, I like him. I like Yoast. I don't care if you don't like Yost Boggs, like whatever, like that's your thing.
Oh,
That's
I
cool.
like him too. He's Dutch. He's cool.
Right, whatever.
I'm just
But
saying the way that he handles himself
Oh,
online
sure.
sometimes could use a little.
Probably not great. Probably not great. So 2 hours later, he emails me back, and I respond and I forward to the client. I didn't like his answer, but I forwarded it anyway. And I still disagree with the way he wants you to build his sitemaps. Like, dude, like I don't like him, but he did them. And that's the thing about this industry, is that we don't all agree on the best approach to do things. Yeah. That's okay. It's okay.
Unlike politics, where if you disagree, no, I'm just kidding.
Right. You're toast. Either side, you're dead. Okay. But anyway, so Yost, I love the information about you personally, because I didn't know any of those things. I didn't know anything about your daughter. I didn't know you had a daughter. Okay. I looked a little bit on the bios and saw that you mentioned your son a couple of times and some weird.
Like anyone on social media, you're a little less like elevating of your daughter online, you know.
And I knew your son did golf, but I didn't really know like the details of that. And it sounds like you're very happily married, which is super cool. You know, and I miss going to the conferences and getting to know people for who they really are. You know, and yes, this is going to be a public conversation, but I feel like we still got a chance to like connect, right?
Yeah.
To get to know each other a little more. And yeah, we knew there was the world watching, but I feel like I got to dig a little deeper than I would have in an email or on a fucking tweet to you, right?
I really appreciate you setting this up, Brent. This is cool.
I like this. I think,
and in fact, just to, you know, do a little connection. Yeah. There's a friend of mine by the name of Laurent Bourrely in France, who is kind of like, you could argue, and he'll be okay with me saying this, but he's waging sort of a little battle in France to, you know, make sure that people know that his SEO tactic is working really well. And so he's got a lot of going on, and he's really been kicking ass in SEO. He's got this cocon sémantique that he talks about and stuff. And
is that a wine? What is that?
And it's really cool for me because I did speak French growing up. And so I'm learning French, the search marketing, you know, part of the language. Yeah. But I did an interview with him a few weeks ago. You should check out that. He's doing the same kind of thing. Like he's interviewing old schoolers and, you know, talking about stuff. So he's sort of your French counterpart, and maybe you guys should interview each other. I'll make the connection.
I love it. Please do. You know, again, it comes out of a spirit of connection, and maybe it's COVID, maybe it's not, but I just really wanted to be able to get to know some people. And I've got 20 other people signed up. So it means I got 20 drunk Fridays in front of me.
I'm honored to be the first.
And no, you are. You're the first. I did cancel on 2.
The guinea pig.
Yeah, you're the guinea pig. Like, you know, I hope you don't end up like my guinea pigs when I was in you know, grade school.
I won't be flushed down any toilets tonight. I can
Cheers, man. Cheers.
And someday, look, dude, it's going to be on. The next time we see each other, we got to do this right. And I literally need some Chicago, man. I need blues. Yes. I need the entire Halstead experience.
Yes.
I just need, you know, and I'm going to stay at that Hilton.
No, you're not. You're staying at my house. You're staying in my house.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
but I might get a room at the Hilton anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna room at the Hilton.
Party there and have a crash pad downtown or whatever.
Times on Michigan Avenue, like, and that's one person we haven't mentioned yet, like Matt McGowan, right?
Yes, I was thinking in my head the presidential suite when he.
Oh, with the helipad?
Yes.
That year? Oh my God!
All the years that SES happened there, and there was every like.
And to bring Jordan back into it, there's a snowstorm. To bring Jordan back into it, I got a picture of Jordan like laying in ice in a tub. Okay, like just that's what we did, and it was fun and it was interesting.
Matt McGowan, what a man!
Oh, Matt, like I got stories about monitors and like TVs. And
we got stories for the non-recording section.
Oh yeah, all sorts of them for sure. So. Boggs, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, bud.
Out, man. So,
Brent, thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
And let's talk again soon, even off the record.
I like it. Talk to you later, man. Bye.